Click the links to support the channel. Mail me comics and weed while you still can. Remember, I'm doing the Lord's work here. 2 quick points. I always said that the Ribbit coin thing was just a mistake. Contracts are tricksy. That's why you hire an attorney to look them over. But Vickyverse was right in raising the issue. No, she did not legally defame EVS. They both raised good points. EVS did make a mistake, but it wasn't with intent to deceive. Second point, I liked the Vampirella cover. I thought it was fun and silly, but War Campaign is also right to criticize it. Comicsgate is about speaking our minds. Roasting art is perfectly fine. No sacred cows. Roast Anna all you want, but also consider giving her a plug. We hang together or we hang separately. Come back to us, Mike. YouTube would be so much better if we could use the N-word, but Sargon got kicked off Patreon for daring to utter it to describe someone. If you have seen the guy who runs Patreon, then you will know what's up. The 2 best phrases are really ninja and ninja please. I would use these expressions daily on YouTube if they wouldn't kick me off. But YouTube is run by one world government types. You know, I used to roll my eyes at those anti-government prepper types. Now I realize that they were right all along. Power corrupts and federal power corrupts absolutely. Over the course of 2 weeks, we have seen the religious expression, assembly, search and seizures, and due process get shut down because the deep state wants to hurt Trump. Yes, those are all dog whistles, because YouTube is Big Brother. If you want to know what's going on with Google, start making videos from a libertarian point of view. Believe it or not, a few years ago, there used to be a lot of right-of-center voices. YouTube has showed them the door. 2015 and the rising tide of anti-communist voices woke them up a little, and they started shutting down right-of-center videos, which isn't so bad because it's boosted DLive, BitChute, and Gab. So I read this interesting Twitter exchange, a very delicate walking on thin ice type of thing. Parties involved: Comicsgate, Richard Pace, Renfamous, Andrew Faraga, Jason Lewis, and Canales, who is my favorite colored person of color, artist of color, who is marginalized and oppressed and of color. We can only hope that he will come out as trans. I mean, she. First of all, if you ain't an SJW, then welcome to Comicsgate. Doesn't matter where you're from or all the surface dressings of who you worship or have sex with. As long as your comic isn't blonde man bad in every single issue, then I will do what I can to help you with this small channel. First and foremost, I want to support people who have the balls to raise the Comicsgate flag and say, Je suis Comicsgate. Oh, but you support Mike Miller. Mike is the least SJW artist in Comicsgate. He makes EVS look like a total soy boy. And Mike is, I think, in Comicsgate denial. Come out of the Comicsgate closet. Join us. One of us. So Comicsgate is in this weird position because everyone is careful not to define it. Nobody wants to be tied down by a definition. From its beginnings, it's been a rejection of the racist, misandrist mainstream comics where every single time the antagonist is a guy from Austrian Central Casting. So I guess I don't care if you're a fascist or a commie, as long as your comics aren't propaganda. Another point is that for SJWs that do want to sell anti-Euro propaganda, it didn't really bother me as much as it did other people, because if they have the legal right to those characters, they can do as they wish. Besides, it's fun to point out who they are and what their Marxist agenda is. I am more on the side of just invent new characters. Start to create a shared universe. Think longer term. You can't save these hoes. I think Comicsgate has moved beyond the mainstream. If you're a Christian or conservative, you would never be welcome in the mainstream. Now there is an alternative to the anti-Christian racism of Al Ewing and the rest. Oh, but be careful, he may sue you for defamation. In pre-trial, I would simply show a half-dozen issues of the Immortal Hulk. Though it's interesting to note that some of the Christians have been kicked out, well, effectively, of Comicsgate. So this guy made some observations on what he thought Comicsgate is, and he was very careful. He was pretty neutral and ambiguous, but he said that there is more buyer-seller interaction and feedback, and that older comics were thought to be better than modern ones, but he avoided speculating on the reasons why. Fine, fair enough. But it also sounded like a weather balloon to say, see which way the wind was blowing. Because when it comes down to it, mainstream comics aren't selling. If you aren't paying someone, then your ability to command their behavior drops to zero. Comicsgate is alt-right Nazis. Don't work with them. But we don't have any work for you either, so I guess starve? Maybe crowdfund a sandwich? Comicsgate is bad, terror bad, but we can't say why exactly. All we have are straw man arguments that they hate women. No, we hate misandrist commies that hate the beautiful people of the light. Blonde people are awesome. Get over it, bigot. Laughing at racist comics written by retarded socialists doesn't make us the bad guys. SJWs are the most bigoted, prejudiced racists you'll ever meet. Didn't you just say how much you wanted to use the N-word? I am kidding, you fucking retards. So, from the perspective of out-of-work mainstream artists, once you find out Comicsgate ain't monsters, they start to ask themselves, why aren't we working together? Marvel can't hire me. Maybe Comicsgate has some work for me. But you have liar worm tongues whispering in their ear not to work with us. But Andrew Faraga, Richard Pace, and Renfamous aren't hiring anyone, so maybe they should just shut the F up. The idea that somebody could be pressured to not work with Doug TenNapel is disgusting. How much of a pussy do you have to be to not work with Doug just because some gutless soy boys didn't approve of you? That makes you a bitch. You allowed yourself to be intimidated by hall monitors who would never buy your stuff in the first place. These people don't realize that more of us are fans and customers than the side that allegedly supports them. I think that if people started standing up to these concerned trolls and cry bullies, they would discover that it's not so hard after all. Okay, he makes a point. He says, it talks about the industry circling the drain, which is an interesting idea because a lot of these people on the other side seem to think this is going to be like a 2-month thing and it's going to come back just as strong in the exact same position it was when it left. I think there's some truth to that. I don't think this is going to go. I don't even think it's going to be 2 months because it's not turning out to be the disaster they thought it was. And some states are just saying, you know what, we're going to go back to business at the end of April. We just can't continue this thing forever. So people wear masks, use hand sanitizer and social distance as much as possible, but people still want to go to the store and buy things, and comics are the things that people want to buy. It's $1 billion industry. There is a demand to be met there. But comics has been on the decline for a while. So, another point, this is a time for Comicsgate to capture market share. And one great way to do that is by stopping the infighting. The whole, Mike Miller, Doug TenNapel, even war campaign fighting with Anna a little bit. Now is not the time, I'm probably going to regret saying this. Now is not the time, but I'll say it anyway. Now is not the time to be fighting amongst ourselves. I'm just having fun with Comicsgate, but there are a lot of people who want to go into this as a part-time job or as a full-time job. Now is the time to show some solidarity, with all the people we used to be bickering with. If there's any way we can find the similarities and not the differences, now is that time. So for the Vampirella cover, spatting at Mike and Doug and whoever else Comicsgate has spurged out at, maybe just put that off for a little while. Is it really that important? And I know I'm talking to a brick wall here in a lot of regards, and there's a lot of blame to go around. But this would be a time to grab an audience that wants a product and they don't have it, but we can't really grab them by the balls when all they see is us acting like such jerks. Fighting them, like they look at this and they say, oh, these guys, they kicked out a bunch of Christians. I mean, that's not exactly true, but it's not exactly false either. And, they're attacking this woman's Vampirella cover, and it's like, yeah, that's not exactly true, because they don't really know the history of Comicsgate is built on roasting people, including ourselves. But if you want to grab that market share and move, like right now, Comicsgate is probably less than 1% of the market, but you could easily increase that by an order of magnitude. Why not do it? Why not just put aside the bickering for a month? All right, that's just my 2 cents. Anyway, so this jackass, so this guy says, he's not the jackass. The industry's circling the drain. I think the industry's going to come back very quickly. And I saw a tweet by EBS said something similar. Well, he knows the industry much better than I do, so I'll take his word for it. I think it's going to come back. I think the stores are kind of in a hiatus, but we'll see. I really don't know. Because people, when it comes down to it, that's my point. People want comics. Comicsgate can give them comics. You might need to. There's a lot of Comicsgate stuff out there, and it may not all be as great as Cyberfrog or Lone Star, but the way around that is, offer it for a little bit lower price. Anyway, so this idiot Farrago, he's Andrew Farrago AF. Okay, Kwanzaa. Comicsgate message has always been, comics were better when there were no creators or editors who were women, LGBTQ plus, or non-white. There's some truth to the women thing, because women were not typically fans of comics, but the LGBT and the color of your skin that's horseshit. You're saying horseshit because you're a stupid person. There are jerks in every organization, but there are more jerks among the SJWs than there are among Comicsgate. I don't care what color you are, or if you're gay or straight, as long as you write good product. And that's Comicsgate. This is a straw man. Argument is merit. Can you write good product? No. A lot of these people, they said, like the Fourth Age always talks about, these people were chosen. They didn't apply to Marvel, because if they had applied with their CV, you would have looked at the CV and said, no, these people aren't ready to be an editor or a writer. They need some what is it called when you put whiskey in a barrel? I don't know, some aging or seasoning. They need some time. They need some seasoning. So, be an assistant editor and, get coffee and learn how to do these things. But no, you're not ready to. They hired people simply because they had brown skin and were Muslims. That's insane. That's not merit. That's the opposite of merit. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, guys. If you want to send me your art for the channel, biancazombie682@gmail.com. You want me to take a look at your Comicsgate project, to edit it or publicize it, what I can do, I will. Or if you want to send me whatever you need to send me, sports channel, you can hit my P.O. box. All right, guys, I will see you on the next episode.